Hello and welcome to another episode of the Damn Good Podcast. This show is going to take you for a ride. We're going to go through my life as it happens. We'll talk fitness, business, mindset, strategy, and tactics. The big question, what do I need to know today to get better tomorrow? I'm Dillon Mitchell, and this is the Damn Good Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Damn Good Podcast. Today, I want to talk a little bit about fitness. So one of the things in fitness, and we're specifically going to talk like endurance running, that you don't need to necessarily deal with in weightlifting or anything like that. Again, like I'm not a bodybuilder. That's not my jam. Endurance running, endurance sport is kind of my arena. Within endurance sport, one of the biggest things that I suffered with is cramping. You cramp in your calves, and it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. It just feels like a rock is in the middle of your calf. You can't move. It seizes up. It's terrible. It happened for me for the first few marathons. I was good to like 15 miles maybe, and then it would just like seize up like crazy. One of the things that I learned through all this happening was, and actually I learned it on a trail run, so that's interesting, not at a road race, because road races, their nutrition typically kind of sucks. It's by the big sponsors, and their products typically don't have like the right nutrition for endurance races. Where trail runs, actually, because you have more experienced ultra athletes manning like aid stations, not some fat overweight person that has never run more than a mile in their life manning an aid station like you do at a road race. You get better endurance tips, you get better nutrition tips. And with this, I had a great experience where they gave salt tablets. And at this race, I'd never taken salt tablets or anything really salty. They had pretzels, they had like flat Coke, they had all this stuff. And trail runners are spoiled, but again, you're on a much harder course. It's much smaller participation on a trail race than there is in a road race. So all of this is like pretty feasible to do. And the same time, took these salt pills and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like no cramps. I'm at mile like 18, 19, feel good. What is this? This is insane. So what happened is through that process, through more salt exposure, doing more research on it, and even through some bike rides from a guy that I was riding with, he was like, yeah, if I just ran out of salt pills or whatever, I'd go stop at McDonald's, right? This is biking. And then go and like pick up 3-4 salt packets and then just pound them, chase it down with a little water, and it was totally fine. So, and that relieves a ton of cramps or anything like that. So what you have is a kind of, bless me. What you have is a situation where your electrolyte levels are not balanced, so you need to take some type of electrolyte supplement. Like table salt's the easiest, cheapest way to do it. I've switched to, in my big endurance runs, so anything over 15 miles, basically, I drink coconut water, and that's been a huge benefit for me in balancing electrolyte levels. It's the highest potassium and sodium content that I have ever seen within a drink, which makes it a great endurance drink. It's got just enough carbs to kind of keep fueling you for endurance running. Again, like I'm talking marathons, 50Ks, 50 milers. You can use it for shorter distance events like a half marathon. It'll help, right? If cramping becomes an issue for you, coconut water is like the best thing to drink during a race. So it's simple things like that where you're going to improve your electrolyte balance to allow you to go faster, further, and really just feel better. It's something that isn't talked about enough in this electrolyte balance, this salt level balance for endurance running in particular. So that's the biggest like nutrition tip that I can give you guys on this episode of the Damn Good Podcast. There's so much more to cover in nutrition and fitness, but salt is the biggest thing that I have come across in any of my endurance running. People's electrolyte levels are all out of whack. When you change diets too when you're not on a carb heavy diet. Salt is typically something that you're not getting enough of either. So salt levels are typically not high enough. And I know sodium got like a bad rap maybe like 20 years ago, but sodium is something that people are significantly lacking in substantial proportions throughout most of their diet. So guys, eat more salt, drink some coconut water on your runs, and that is this episode of the Damn Good Podcast. If this helps you on any of your endurance runs, or a friend that's suffering with cramping, especially on runs, and this could be from 8 miles to 40 miles, right, or 100 miles. If they're suffering with that, share this episode of the Damn Good Podcast, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.